William Bill Suff. Infamous chili. William Lester Suff, born Bill Lee Suff, August 20, 1950, is an American serial killer who tortured and killed at least 13 women in Riverside County, California, from 1986 to 1991, earning nicknames such as the Riverside Prostitute Killer and the Lake Elsinore Killer, as some of his victims were dumped in Lake Elsinore. Years earlier, in 1973, he murdered his 2-month-old daughter in Texas, a crime for which he had only served 10 years of a 70-year sentence. According to books and articles about the case, it was alleged that Suff used the breast of one of his victims in a batch of chili he prepared for a Riverside County employee chili cook-off, which he reportedly won.
Alright guys, this is going to be an absolutely insane video today. So today we are going to be making Bill Suff's chili. His chili is pretty infamous in the true crime community. He made this in a chili cook-off. He won. There was also a woman's breast inside this chili. That's optional. Obviously, I don't have that. So let's get going with the ingredients because there is a lot of ingredients. This actually cost me $80 to make. Most of these ingredients I did not have, so I had to go to the store and actually buy them. So we're going to need hamburger. We need a half a pound. I think this is probably a full pound, so I'm going to use half of this. Another half I'll put in the fridge and use it later. I did already have the hamburger. We're going to need round roast, some kind of roast. You only need a fourth a pound. I don't know if this is a fourth pound or not. Maybe it's a little less, maybe it's a little more, but I'll probably use all of this. There's not much in this. I tried grabbing the smallest meats I could find because you only need a fourth pound of all these. I don't have a scale, so I'm not gonna measure anything. So I'll probably use half of this or not half. It's a pound. We have a pound of beef for stew, so you're gonna need some beef stewing meat, roast beef, like a round roast. You're going to need a ribeye steak, mushrooms, yellow mustard, Budweiser beer. We need tomato puree. You're going to need lemon juice, so I bought a lemon. I prefer fresh lemon juice. A green onion, jalapeno, just one large jalapeno, a small stewing onion. Yellow onions are the best for stewing, so we're going to grab this one. I personally would put more, but he said one small one, so we're going to follow the recipe. Hickory brown sugar, barbecue sauce. His barbecue sauce did say hickory, and that was it, but I couldn't find any just hickory, so I got hickory and brown sugar. That's all I could find. That's probably what he meant anyway. Sweet relish, tomato ketchup, real mayonnaise, and yeah, this is a little weird, guys, but I think it's going to taste good. 2 packets of chili seasoning mix, black pepper, olives, garlic salt, chili powder, oregano, minced onions, malt vinegar, butter, or margarine, whatever, I really don't care, bay leaves, cornstarch, salt, and sharp cheddar. And that will be your ingredients for this chili. Alright, so the day before making this, you're going to want to take a half cup of Budweiser and pour it into a cup, cover it with a paper towel. That way it'll go flat. I will say I didn't do that. I do have some beer sitting out, but it hasn't been sitting out that long, only a few hours. I think it'll be fine. I don't really feel like waiting a full day just to get this started. And this is also going to be a very long cooking time. So he says that you need to cook it for 15 hours for best flavor. However, if you do cook it for a few hours, it'll be okay. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to let it cook overnight. And then tomorrow for lunch or dinner, I will eat it. Alright guys, so we have about half a pound of hamburger in here. I'm not sure if it's actually half a pound. All these meat measurements are going to be like guesstimates. But yeah, you're going to take a half pound of hamburger And we're just going to cook it up and brown it up like you normally would, and then discard the grease. Alright guys, so yeah, we're just going to keep browning our hamburger until it is done, and then drain all the meat. We're not going to season it, I guess, but we're going to season it, I'm sure, when we get to that point. I'm just following the instructions of Bill Suff, so... Alright guys, so while your hamburger is cooking down, we are going to go ahead and chop up our onion. So I'm going to cut the butts off of it. And I'm just going to chop it up. So I do like big onion. I didn't say, it didn't be like diced or anything. It just says onion. And since it's specified, I'm going to go ahead and do some onion. Because I do like big pieces. Another way to cut this, but I don't really care. Woo! This one's strong. Wow. I haven't had strong in a while. I'm really messing eyes. So I got one. You know, it's chunky chili. Cool. Alright, let's take really messing eyes. Alright guys, I'm back. My hamburger is done, I think, but we're going to continue. I turned it down on low, so it shouldn't burn. Because I'm not ready. Because yeah, it's making YouTube videos, cooking, it's a little difficult to get the timing right. So yeah, onion is chopped up. You can chop it up smaller if you like smaller pieces. Like I said, I do like bigger pieces. We're gonna go ahead and chop up our green pepper. Also in the recipe, I think it said 1 small green pepper, but I am going a little bit bigger. This is obviously a very meat-heavy chili. There is no beans in it. In fact, Bill Suff does not like beans in his chili. He says that it ruins the chili. Personally, I love beans in chili, so sucks, but I'm going to follow his recipe. So we're not going to add beans. But I figure we'll add a larger green onion. Or not green onion, green pepper, sorry. Because I do love me some green peppers. So yeah, we're just going to cut our pepper up into, I'm not going to strips, and then I'm going to dice them the other way. I know there's probably better ways to cut these. I'm not a professional chef, I just do what I want to do, okay? And my food always turns out great, so no one ever complains. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just finish this up off camera. You guys all know how to cut green pepper, and if you don't, just cut it how you want to cut it. Because that's what I'm doing. Just cut them into strips and then chunks. And I'm going to use bigger chunks anyway, again, I like chunky chili. If you don't like chunky chili, then don't, you know, cut small. Cut them bite sizes, make the chili how you want to make it. Okay, I'm trying to follow the recipe. He did pretty spot on, so I'm going to see what the recipe you want to try. But he doesn't say how to cut the pepper up, he doesn't say like dice it into small pieces or chunky pieces, whatever, so cut it how you like it. Alright, I'm going to finish off camera and then we'll go back. I finished the onions, I finished the green peppers. Now, he also says to cut up your mushrooms. I think the recipe calls for... Oh, shit. I think the recipe calls for 8 mushrooms, but I did just buy the pre-sliced ones. But I don't know if I want big, chunky, like, huge mushrooms. Like, I don't mind some smaller ones. What we're going to do is we're just going to grab some, and we're going to cut them up to a little bit smaller pieces. Not, like, super small. This is also the first time I ever put mushrooms into a chili. I do like mushrooms a lot, so this doesn't bother me whatsoever. I just never had mushrooms in chili. I think that's a little weird. But I think there's a lot of weird stuff in this chili. Like the olives, green olives, I would never put green olives in chili either. I do like olives, I like green olives, I like black olives. So that doesn't bother me. You know, pickle relish, barbecue sauce, mayo, that is all ingredients I would never put in chili myself. But I kind of have a feeling this is going to be a very tasty chili. There's a lot of seasonings, there's a lot of flavoring components to it. Yeah, I think it's going to taste really good. So I'm just going to dice up, I don't know how much mushrooms. Like I said, he's like 8 mushrooms, but I didn't buy them full, so you can always buy full mushrooms and then just chop them up. If so, you can do 8 of them. I think it's 8. I'll have the full ingredients in the beginning of this video, most likely, but at least, you editing. But yeah, I'm going to get these chopped up and we'll get back to it. Alright guys, so our hamburger is done. We're, instead of discarding the grease, because really isn't that much, we're just going to take a paper towel and soak up all the grease. This is typically how I like to get rid of my grease from my meat anyway. I feel like it's a lot easier. We do have a thing to put grease in, but I hardly ever do that. I just like to do this, and it soaks it up, and then you just throw it away. Simple and easy. Okay, so we're going to take our onions, green peppers, and mushrooms, and hopefully I do not drop this, because it's kind of flimsy. Okay. Add in half the mushrooms, half the green peppers, and half the onions, I believe, into our pan with the hamburger, is what it seems like. I think he said add half the onion or half the green peppers. I'm not sure about the mushrooms. So we're going to do half of everything. So I'm just going to add half of all that into here. Alright guys, so we have half our mushrooms, half our onions, and half our green peppers in the pan, along with our hamburger. I did turn the stove off because my hamburger was starting to burn, but I'll turn it back on here in a few. We're going to take our malt vinegar and we're going to do 1 tablespoon. So I have a tablespoon right here, and I'm going to add that into our pan. Alright, so here's our 1 tablespoon of malt vinegar. Let's go ahead and just add that in. Alright guys, so now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine into our pan. And add 1 more. And I'm going to scoop that out off of camera. Alright, so now we're going to take 1 tablespoon of chili powder, which I have right here, and we're just going to add that into our pan as well. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to add our chili packet seasoning, just 1 of them, into this as well. And we're going to stir this up and let it cook for about 10 minutes. Alright, so we have our chili seasoning mix, and we're going to add 1 whole packet into here. I might add a little bit of water into this. It doesn't say to, but I feel like I'm going to need it. So I'm going to turn the heat back up a tiny bit, and I'm going to stir this up off of camera, or I'll try to set my camera up so you guys can see. But yeah. Go ahead and cook this for 10 more minutes, and then we'll move on to the next step. I got a tripod now, so it's a lot easier for me to actually make these videos now. I forgot I could use that. Yeah. So, I'm gonna go ahead and get a spatula that I've been using, and we're just going to mix this up. I'm not gonna add any water, but I might. I'm gonna try not to at first because it doesn't say to add water. I guess there's all that butter, and once the butter melts, it'll turn into a liquid and help the seasoning. So I think it'll be fine. We're just going to let this cook for 10 minutes and just stir it occasionally so that it doesn't burn. I know this chili is going to be so good. All the seasonings and flavors and shit. Like, really looking forward to this, actually. I've been wanting to make this for a long time. It's just the fact that there's so much ingredients, so much work that goes into it, and it's very expensive. Most people are not going to want to spend $80 to make this, but... And it could, you know, be less or more depending on your area. But it cost me $80 to get all these ingredients. So... A lot of it was that meat. And then, like, the malt vinegar and all that stuff. If you already have that, it's going to cost less. But I didn't have any of that stuff, so. Alright. Let's let this cook for 10 minutes, and I'll be back. Alright guys, so we're going to move our hamburger onion mixture into a crock pot on low heat. We're just going to add that in there. And then we're going to keep the juices that are in the pan for our next meat. I'm hoping this pan is big enough for the next step. I'm going to try it, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So let's get on to the next step. So yeah, my crock pot is on low. I had it sitting on low already. We are going to cover this, and then we're going to start our next step. Alright guys, I have a little paper plate here. I'm going to get rid of the knife. Set that aside. And I'm going to get out some kitchen shears because this will be the easiest and fastest way. So we're going to take our round roast. And it says 1/4 pound. I feel like this is probably a 1/4 pound or close to it. This really isn't that much meat right here. I don't have a scale, so I can't measure it out, but we're going to cut it up into bite pieces. Do some smaller pieces, some bigger pieces, whatever. Just make sure it's all bite-sized pieces. I'm probably just going to go ahead and start doing this, and then if there's any like bigger pieces I think you can cut down more, I will go ahead and grab those. Make sure you wash your hands between doing this. But yeah, we're just going to take a pair of kitchen scissors. Now, you can go ahead and take a knife and cut this, but personally, I just think it's a lot easier just to take a pair of kitchen shears that are meant for cutting meats and stuff, and just go ahead and cut into it. It's a lot quicker, a lot faster, a lot easier. And you can just get, you know, random chunks of bite-sized meat pretty quick. So yeah, I'm going to finish this off camera, and I'll be back with you. Alright guys, so we have our beef. Now we're just gonna continue. So you're gonna take your ribeye steak, and you're gonna take 1/4 a pound of ribeye steak. I don't. This is 0.67 pounds. I don't know what that adds to. I don't know if that's 1/4 a pound or not, but I feel like we're gonna use the whole steak because I don't want to waste the steak. I grabbed the smallest one they had, so I know 1/4 pound is not much. So now we're just going to cut our ribeye steak into bite pieces as well. That's a big piece of bone, so we're going to skip that. But yeah, we're going to add our ribeye steak into our other meat, and we're just going to cut this up. And this meat is very soft and tender and cutting very well. See how quick it is? It's so much better than just like trying to slice through with a knife. I mean, I'm sure slicing through with a knife wouldn't be too bad either, but yeah, we're going to continue until the steak is done. Alright, so we're almost done with the steak. This is going to be a very meat-heavy chili, like I said. We have so much meat going in this. I kind of want to add more onion and stuff, but it does say just 1 small onion, so we're just going to stick with that. That's okay. Alright, so now we have our steak. I really don't think this pan's going to be big enough, so I'm going to have to get a bigger pan, because I'm not done yet. Now we need 1/4 pound of boneless beef stew, like boneless beef meat for stew. This is a full pound, so we're not using this all. Just going to use a little bit of it, and the rest I'll use for something else, maybe tomorrow or something, I don't know. It'll be okay. And this is already cut up, so we don't have to cut this up. Let's just grab some pieces, and I think that's good. Alright, so let's go take our big stack of meat and go through it. Alright, so before I cook that other meat, I want to go ahead and just stir this up because there is no like tomato liquids or anything in here yet. There is that juice, a little bit of juice in here, but just going to go ahead and get this little stir. Put the lid back on. Alright, so we're going to turn this back on to medium. And we're going to add all our meat, and I hope it fits. Yep, cool. Now we're going to cook our steak and our beef stew meat and our roast beef meat and get it all cooked up. And I'll be back for the next step. I think the pan is a little overcrowded. So it might take a while to cook this, but I really didn't want to dirty up another pan. Plus all the juices from the last stuff was in there, so I really wanted to keep those juices in there. Also, I believe I'm actually doing this wrong. Now that I reread the recipe a little bit, and I think I was supposed to pour the juices into a saucepan, but it's okay. So yeah, we're just gonna cook this up. It may take a little bit just because the pan is a little overcrowded. Alright, our meat is getting lots of juices in here. Starting to look pretty good. I'm going to let this cook for a little bit longer. I don't think it needs to cook fully. I am going to cook it fully, but like this is going to sit in a crock pot overnight, so but our steak and pot roast and stew meat is looking pretty good. Probably going to turn down the heat a little bit. And we're going to continue to let this cook for a little bit longer, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is getting our sauce and liquids prepared. Alright guys, so we're going to take a saucepan, and we're going to dump our juices into it from our meat. We are going to go ahead and take our meat. And then we're going to go ahead and take our meat and we're going to put it into the crock pot, which I'll just do off the camera real quick, so I don't have to switch the camera again. So I'm just going to dump this meat into the crock pot. Alright guys, so we have our juices from the meat in our saucepan, and it is simmering. Now we're going to take a lemon and we're going to roll it, slice it in half. I'm going to go grab my knife. And we're going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I feel like that's probably going to be the full lemon, to be honest. So we're going to go ahead and add our lemon juice in here. Actually, it might be half a lemon. It's quite a bit. This lemon's very juicy. The seeds did come out into the sauce, so I'm going to go ahead and scoop those out. So I'm going to have them. Fine. I should measure it as doing it. So, you get seeds in your stuff, just get out. You can also use, like, just lemon juice, not fresh lemon. But I do prefer me some fresh lemon juice. Turn the seed off there. And there's just a couple more seeds, so I'm going to get those out and move on to the next step. Alright guys, so we added our lemon juice into our pan, and now we're going to add 1/4 a cup of sweet relish. Make sure it is the sweet relish. I got the squeeze bottle, so it's going to be a lot easier, and I'm just going to fill this up to the 1/4 mark. Alright, so we have 1/4 cup of relish, and that's going to go into our sauce. And we're going to give this a nice stir. Alright, so now we're going to add 1 teaspoon. Let's see if we can find our teaspoon. Alright. 1 teaspoon of chopped onions. Or minced onions, it's the same thing. Here's 1 teaspoon of chopped onions. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of oregano. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of garlic salt. I'm going to go ahead and pop that open. Tablespoon, garlic salt. And then we're going to give this another mix, and we're going to add some cornstarch as well. But I'm going to go ahead and get this mixed up a little bit. Gotta say, this actually smells really good. It doesn't smell nothing like chili. But it does smell like a really good sauce. And I think once we add in the tomatoes and stuff like that, it'll smell more like chili. And add it into the actual meat. But right now, it just smells like a really sweet sauce. Alright, so we're going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. And then we're going to bring this up to a boil. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. And I'm just going to go ahead and stir this up. I'm hoping the cornstarch isn't too clumpy. Typically, I feel like you don't really just pour it in like that. But I'm just following the recipe. If there's clumps, then there's clumps. I don't think it's going to matter too much, to be honest. Because of how much I'm making. Like how much is it going to make, you know, all that meat. So, yeah, just going to stir this up some. And like, get to a boil. Alright, so that's what it's looking like. And we're just going, you're going to stir this until it starts to boil. Which I think it's already starting to boil. And then we are supposed to put this into the crock pot. Let's let it sit for a second to see if it's actually boiling. No, not yet. Alright. But it is getting really thick. Once it starts to boil, we'll add it to the crock pot. Alright guys, it's boiling and bubbling, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep the stove on low because I think I still need it. I'll double check in a few, but yeah, we're going to go transfer this over. Just going to set this down real quick. And I'm probably going to have to do this off camera, but we're going to go ahead and just pour this in here. Alright guys, so we have our sauce in here. We're going to mix that up. I gotta say, this is really smelling amazing. I'm actually really looking forward to this. Lots and lots of meat. Alright, let's move on to our next step. We're going to add all the rest of the ingredients straight into the crock pot. So, you're going to take a 1/2 cup of flat beer, and we're going to pour that into here. It might have been 1/4 a cup, but I'm pretty sure it was 1/2 cup. It's kind of hard to read the handwriting from the recipe, to be honest. I feel like even if it is a 1/4 a cup, it'll still be good. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little stir. Alright, so now this recipe calls for 16 ounces of tomato puree. I couldn't find 16-ounce cans, so I have 2 10-ounce cans, and I'm just going to use both of them. It's not much more. I think it'll be fine. I could use a full can and then, like, you know, half a can or something, and it would probably be around 16 ounces, but I also don't want to waste it, and I know that I'm not going to use it, so we're just going to use both 10-ounce cans. It'll be totally fine. Give that a mix. See, now this is starting to look more like a chili. I will say though, I really want some beans in this. I really want to add beans. But you know what? We're going to listen to the Chili King himself, and we're not going to add beans. Alright, so on to another weird ass part of this. We're going to add 4 tablespoons of real mayonnaise. I think he recommended Hellman's, but that was very expensive. In this day and age, we just use what we got. So I bought some Best Choice, off-brand shit. I don't care. It'll taste fine. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright guys, so now we're going to take 1/4 a cup of hickory brown sugar.
Barbecue sauce.
Yeah, so we're going to go to 1/4 a cup, and then we're going to go ahead and... Alright, 1/4 a cup. Alright guys, so now we're going to add 1/4 cup of ketchup. So we're just going to use the same one, and... Yep. 1/4 cup ketchup into the chili. Alright guys, so now we need 2 tablespoons of mustard. Tablespoon has the mayo in it, it's fine, guys. 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons. Alright guys, we're almost done. So we need to add 3 bay leaves into this, which I think is a little weird, because typically like bay leaves, you kind of cook them in a liquid and then you take them out, but we are going to add 3 bay leaves in here. Not sure if I should crunch this up or not. I didn't tell you to, so 1, and then we're going to add that. That's going to be our 3rd one. We're going to need black pepper. It says 1 teaspoon of black pepper. That's not enough. I'm sorry, guys. We're just going to crack some pepper in here. I love black pepper. So I'm just going to do it to my heart desires. We are basically following this recipe to a T. However, there's a few things we're going to switch up a little bit, you know? Alright. And then we're going to go ahead and cut up our jalapeno pepper and add that in there as well. I'm going to go ahead and cut the jalapeno pepper off of camera. You guys don't need to see that. It's fine. Alright guys, so we're going to add the rest of our mushrooms, our green onions, and our jalapeno peppers. And we're just going to add the rest of those into our chili. Give that a nice stir. We still have to add our olives. I don't know when that's supposed to be added. Probably next. So I'm going to go ahead and see what we're going to do next. Alright guys. So I'm a little confused because when reading the recipe, it does not say to add olives. However, there's olives in the ingredients, so we're going to add them. I did cut them in half. So we have some olives in there. I did read that we're going to take the bay leaves out, so I probably shouldn't use those small pieces, but it's fine. But we're going to fish out these other bay leaves later, if I can find them. And if not, hopefully when someone eats it, they see it, and they can take it out themselves. Also, I'm a little confused because it said to get 2 packets of chili seasoning, but it tells you to put 1 packet, and then it never tells you to use the other packet. However, it said 2 packets, so we are going to dump this in here. And I feel like it's fine because there's a lot of meat. And it did say to use 2 packets. So we're going to add that in there. And now we are going to add 1 cup of cheese. So I'll go ahead and use this right here. And we're going to grab our sharp cheddar. And then we're going to pour 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese into here. And then when you're serving it the next day, because it does take 15 hours, you're going to go ahead and pour another cup of cheese on yours. I'm going to go ahead, well, we'll just continue. You know what? How many cups is in this bag? 1/4, or I feel like there's like 4 cups in here or something. I don't know. We're going to do about half the bag. I don't feel like measuring. Alright, that should be good. And then we'll do the other half of the bag when serving. Let's give this a nice little mix. Alright guys, so we are finally done. Now all they're left to do is put the lid back on it and let it sit for 15 hours. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, it's been a few hours and this is what it's looking like. Honestly, it smells so good. Really looking forward to trying this, but this is not going to be done until 8 o'clock in the morning. So I guess we're going to have chili for breakfast. I don't really want chili for breakfast, but that's how it's going to happen. In the morning, we're going to fish out these bay leaves. And yeah, we'll serve it up. I mean, I might eat it around lunchtime. So I did switch it to warm. I might actually turn it off for just for a little bit. I don't know. I don't want it to burn. I mean, I said 15 hours. I feel like that's crazy. But I mean, it'd probably be fine on warm all night, I guess. I'll just keep checking it in the middle of the night if I wake up or anything. So, see you guys in the morning. Alright guys, it is currently 7:10 in the morning. So, it's been about 14 hours. I just woke up. Pretty tired, honestly, but I'll probably stay up and, this is what the chili, well, very steamy. This is what the chili's looking like. It smells super good. It's basically been about 15 hours. I'm not sure how I feel about eating this for breakfast, but I probably will have a bowl here for breakfast to taste test it on camera. So get ready for the taste test of William Suff's chili. Alright guys, it's now 7:51. It's been 18 hours at 8 o'clock, so I feel like it's good, or 15 hours at 8 o'clock, so it's good. I just stirred this up, and it's looking good. It smells really good in here. Now, typically, I would never eat chili first thing in the morning when I wake up. But this has been a long video, a long process, and I want to get this done. So we're going to go ahead and bring out the rest of the cheese, throw the cheese in here, and get a little taste test of this. Alright, so you could take your own bowl and just pour the rest of the cheese in your bowl, or, you know, put a little bit of cheese in your bowl, but I'm just going to pour the rest of the cheese in the whole thing, honestly. So I guess it wouldn't have mattered if I would have put the rest of it last night, but it's okay. We're gonna give this a little stir. And we're gonna grab a spoon and get a bowl. Now, Bill Suff did put Fritos in his chili. I did not do that. I don't like Fritos. And then he says to sprinkle some on top as well. That's the only thing I left out of this whole chili was the Fritos. I don't think it's a big deal. He puts like a cup, I think, of Fritos in the chili while it's cooking overnight. But I think that'd be weird, have mushy chips in your chili. And also, like, I just don't like Fritos. So, didn't do that. Alright, let's get a bowl. Alright, so here's what it's looking like in the bowl. It's a very thick chili. It honestly smells so good though, guys. I wish you guys could smell this kitchen. I have some sweet tea. And I have my bowl of chili. So let's go ahead and get some first impressions. I don't know if that's a jalapeno right there or if it's an olive. It's an olive, which is good because I wanted to taste the olives in the chili because I think that's really weird. All right. Wow. Okay, so like I said, when I was cooking this, I thought olives were really weird to add into this, but it actually is great. It has that nice saltiness because, you know, olives are great, like really salty and stuff. And like with the sweetness, it really works out. That bite didn't really have any meat. So here's a chunk of meat. I don't know if that's, I mean, I'm sure if I had some hamburger in there, but here's like a big chunk of meat. I'm not sure if this is like the roast or the New York strip steak or what it is, but let's go ahead and get another bite. Wow. That meat is so soft and tender. I mean, it's been cooking for 15 hours. The flavor is really great in this. So we have a nice, really sweet flavor, and this is a sweet chili. And you get a little bit of a spice to it. It's great. I really enjoy this, honestly. Ooh, that bite was even better. I will say, I think we could do some more onions in this. Maybe some more green peppers. I do think the meat to veggie ratio is a little off. That's my only complaint about it. And you know what? I'm gonna agree with Bill Suff on this one. I don't think it needs beans. The flavors are just amazing. Although, like, I can taste that barbecue flavor in it, the sweetness from the relish, like the pickly flavor. I think the mayo brings out a creaminess in this. Honestly, solid 10 out of 10. Would I make this again? I don't know. The issue I have with making this again is the fact that it is very pricey. It did come out to be around $80. I've mentioned that a couple times in this video. I think it was more like 70 something because I did pick up some apple juice and I also picked up a pop with my shopping list, but other than that, all I bought was everything that was on the list, and it did add up to $80. And it's very time consuming to make. making the hamburger and then, you know, frying up the mushrooms and everything with it, and then cooking the other meats, and then adding all the ingredients into the crock pot, stirring it up and everything, and then waiting like 15 hours. It is very time consuming. I mean, obviously the most consuming part of it is waiting 15 hours, but I think it's needed. I mean, I didn't taste it throughout the video, to be honest. I really didn't. But I can tell you now, like, this is extremely tasty. And I could see why he won the chili cook-off. The meat's just so tender and just like, I like the sweetness of this. I usually go for like a really spicy chili, but, and I could see how some Fritos would be good on this. I don't like Fritos personally. Maybe add some crackers. I do like some crackers in my chili. So, yeah. Alright guys, this has been a really long video. If you stay till the end, that's cool. If not, whatever. Subscribe, share, like, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.